The Top Knot Creative Show, the Top Knot Creative Show. Seeking super smart, super talented superheroes. How to be wow over the world and all around. The Top Knot Creative Show, the Top Knot Creative Show.
Hello everyone, this is Shantae Schrader and welcome to the show where we seek out the super smart, super talented, and basically the superheroes who are taking over the world and making it super wow. Today we are talking with Fiona Gathright, the president of Wellness Corporate Solutions. Fiona has spent the last 25 years in corporate business management and marketing. Prior to founding Wellness Corporate Solutions, she and her husband owned a successful legal research company that served 99 of the top 100 law firms, as well as numerous investment banks. As a small business owner, she has firsthand knowledge of the burden rising health care costs placed on any employer, and we all know that that's a major burden. After her first business was sold, she focused on her passion for health and wellness and created a company that helps businesses manage and reduce their healthcare costs while putting in place programs that result in increased recruitment and retention of healthy employees. And we couldn't be more excited to have Fiona with us today to talk about her company, Wellness Corporate Solutions. Fiona, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, we are excited to have you. First, let's talk about you as an entrepreneur. You've had a couple companies. Tell us about kind of your experience, starting these companies and starting the most recent one, Wellness Corporate Solutions.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So my husband and I had a company for about 20 years. It was a legal research company. And once we sold that, I had two young children. They were 5 and 9, and I thought I'd stay home and raise my kids. And about 5 years into that, I decided I just could not attend one more PTA meeting, and I had Girl Scout troops, and I thought I really need to do something else. And I, just thought long and hard about what I wanted to do with my life and decided to start a business based around my passion. I started the company with another woman who's a registered dietitian, and together we built this wellness business.
Now, Wellness Corporate Solutions, for the listeners, this is becoming more and more common that businesses are realizing that employee wellness it affects the bottom line. But let's take it as if I knew nothing about wellness within corporate settings and explain to me what it is that Wellness Corporate Solutions does.
Okay, I'd be happy to. So today in the United States, about 70% of our healthcare costs are due to lifestyle. So basically, things that can be preventable. So heart disease, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, metabolic syndrome, obesity, etc. And since corporations and employers bear the lion's share of the healthcare costs for their employees, the health of their employees negatively impacts their costs. So we go into companies, we educate their employees about their health risks. So we measure people's cholesterol and blood pressure and their body composition and their glucose numbers, and we educate the employees about whether they're at risk for high blood pressure or diabetes, etc. And then we put into place programs that help employees adopt healthier lifestyle habits. So, for example, we'll do fun things like quote-unquote Biggest Loser campaigns or walking programs, and we do these using online platforms and really engaging, fun types of activities. And then we also help the employer build a culture of wellness at their organization and help them encourage, things like walking meetings and healthy nutrition offerings, and we do a lot of seminars. And we also do more more serious things like direct outreach to high-risk employees with health coaching, tobacco cessation programs, etc. And all of these programs are designed to support the employee to choose healthier habits, and in turn, if you start to lose weight, if you start to exercise more, if you start to eat more fruits and vegetables, for example, you're going to be less at risk for heart disease. Your blood pressure is going to come down. You might not develop diabetes, and in the long run, your employer will save money. And in the short run, you'll feel so fabulous because you're exercising and you're eating well that your productivity will skyrocket, and you'll love your employer because they care about your health, so you'll stay with that person longer. So these wellness programs also help with recruitment and retention as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, that is a lot for an employer, to take in, and of course it just seems obvious that this is a win. But what are some other ways that employees now could sell their management team, that C-suite, on we need this in order to save money and health insurance, to build positive morale? How would they start talking about that conversation if they wanted that for themselves?
Well, there are many ways you can start talking about that conversation. I think that most employers really like to be recognized. So if you look today at places like Working Mother or Fortune, or that recognize best places to work, every one of those companies has a wellness program, and that's often one of the things that's touted as one of the great things they have, or the great programs they have. So that is a very kind of light way of approaching wellness to your employer. Another way is to talk about sort of the bottom line. Really, the return on investment wellness programs cost a fraction of what your health insurance costs. So a wellness program costs 1 or 2% of what someone is actually paying for healthcare costs. So it's an easy sell for an employer to pay a couple of $100s per year per employee to put in place a program that is really going to return back to them, easily double that over a 3 to 5 year period.
Okay, that's awesome. I've been in a corporate setting where they've had a wellness program in place, and what I noticed is that there was just kind of this buzz of this new buzz of oh my goodness, we're going to find out about this. And I think they did a version of The Biggest Loser kind of thing, where teams would get together. And dramatic results for some people, just incredible results, that they were supported. And so it wasn't just a one-time thing. I lost it, I win this contest, and then I go back to where I was. No, it's almost like the working environment. We spend so much time there, even as opposed to being at home. So it makes sense, right? To build in that support.
Yeah, we do spend a lot of time. At my company, we encourage employees to go on walking meetings. We have sit-stand desks. People have ball chairs. We have things like Salad Fridays, and when we celebrate birthdays, we always try to have healthier offerings like frozen yogurt or fruit. So there's so many ways that an employer can put in place a wellness program.
Now, let's talk about health insurance. And there's a lot of controversy when it comes to demanding this and that, and the broken system, where maybe instead of focusing on what's broken, is to provide things like this that are just required solutions. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree. I do think that in our country we focus a lot on fixing people once they get sick. So our whole healthcare, all of our healthcare is really devoted to what happens when you get sick. You go to the doctor, you get medication, you have open heart surgery, you get a stent put in, it's all centered around being sick. But just remembering that over 70% of our healthcare costs are really due to things that we have within our own power to control. If we really focus on prevention, then I think that would go a long way towards helping with our healthcare costs. And that's a very simple answer. I realize prevention is not the only thing. We also, have overutilization of certain tests, and there's a lot of reasons why our healthcare costs are so high. But prevention is certainly something I think it's within our own power to focus on.
Mm-hmm. Now, why do you think it is that we haven't done these things, the preventative measures? Is it just lack of information?
Well, it's not something that it's not something you get paid for.
Uh-huh.
So if you're a hospital, you need to have patience, and if you're a physician, you need to have patience, and that's fair. And I think that what we've done in this country is we haven't really supported a lifestyle for everybody where people have access to things like safe walking paths, or where kids have PE in schools, physical education in schools. We've really gone, in the past few years away from that. And now people are starting to think, oh my gosh, we should really build cities, and suburbs with sidewalks again. Mm-hmm. And we should have walking paths, and we should have bike trails, and we should have all of this stuff, and we should have access to fresh fruits and vegetables in the inner cities. And you've heard of food deserts, and all of these things are contributing to our poor health. And also, people don't always have choices. So if somebody can't afford, very healthy foods, or they don't have those options in their neighborhood where they can walk and pay for those options, then it becomes harder to be healthier. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of factors.
Now, Wellness Corporate Solutions, it provides, maybe you can explain this, a high-touch wellness program. What does that mean?
Yeah, so it's really easy today to sort of leverage technology and say, we're going to launch a website, and we're going to encourage our employees to go to this website and do activities and go online. However, we believe that you need a combination of the technology and also people. So we have our health coaches go on site to our manufacturing clients and do in-person coaching. Mm-hmm. We go on site to our clients and do all the biometric screenings, and then the employees sit down with somebody who's highly qualified to talk to them about their blood pressure and their cholesterol. I'll give you an example of one of our clients is a very well-known construction company, and they're so wonderful that when they were building a large children's hospital in Orlando, and they had about 1,000 workers on the site, not only their own employees but also subcontractors. And they had us come down and do a health screening for their employees and their subcontractors. And we went down there, and many of these employees and these construction workers didn't have health insurance and had not been to a physician, maybe in 10 or 15 years. And we went down there. It was amazing. And we did blood pressure screenings and diabetes screenings and cholesterol screenings. And we had bilingual health educators. And we were giving those employees and those subcontractors, and many of them were men, many of them were Hispanic, those guys, information that they never had been given in their whole life. And they didn't know they had high, some of them did not know they were walking around with extremely high blood pressure. Mm-hmm. None of them knew that they were pre-diabetic or had, super high cholesterol. So, a lot of people don't know what they have.
Mm-hmm. They don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
I love that. And, I remember in that corporate setting, before I left and started my own company, we were incentivized. We were, you gathered points if you attended these seminars, if you had to check in with your coach, and the incentive, I can't remember what the incentive were, but they were the difference in, I think, some of the health insurance premiums. I mean, it was something that was just built in.
You're right. It makes a big difference. We have companies where they, if you participate in the wellness program, they will pay $50 or $100 more per month towards your health insurance coverage, and that adds up. That's $600 to $1,200 a year, and that's real money just for participating.
And I think there was also they built an entire cafe, a healthy cafe within the inside of the building, and then they brought in like yoga teachers, and you could just participate. And they encouraged you to like block out chunks of your day to do that, and it just became part of the culture.
And I bet you really liked that, didn't you?
Well, you felt there was a feeling to it. There was like, oh, well, this is obviously good for these reasons, but you also felt like you weren't just another number or name. It went a long way for just the morale and boost of what was going on within that corporate. So if anything ever came down from the top, that it was just a good feel good. It like provided a really solid foundation for, growth periods and such. But yes. Well,
whenever you want to come over here and be a sales rep for my company, come on over, okay?
I will. I'll just talk about all the fun things that we would do.
Yeah.
I mean, they would just, if someone said, let's have a volleyball tournament and let's start doing it at this week and it goes for this long, I mean, and, they were encouraged to, instead of having a meeting, it was like, go out to the, let's build a volleyball, court and that kind of stuff.
That's super.
Yeah, it just added some play and fun, which added creativity, and a lot of other things. Now, if our listeners want to know more about wellness, corporate solutions, and, bringing you into their company, whether they are the owners or they're an employee and would love to put you in front of their bosses, what's the best way to find out more?
The best way to find out more is to go right to our website. It's www.wellnesscorporatesolutions with an S on the end.com, and there's a contact us page, and you can just email us or call us. Our number is right there on our website.
Okay, wonderful. To our listeners, we will have the links on our webpage, but it's Wellness Corporate Solutions with an S, as Fiona said. And there's a lot of great information on the website. There's a blog, you have events, you have a lot of in-depth information about the health risk assessments, the on-site seminars, health coaching, etc. Is there anything else that you would share with our listeners today that we haven't touched on?
I don't think so. You were very thorough, thank you. And no, I think wellness is really a win-win for both the employee and the employer.
I agree, and I think this will, employees will be demanding it more and more. It'll be kind of a requirement for them when they're looking to hire. I think you'll get a higher caliber of work out of people, just for all sorts of just basic reasons, just feeling better, and more information about these things like blood pressure, about just your health, what's going on inside you, that we kind of miss out on until there's a problem. There's an ache, there's a pain, there's a need for surgery. So that's very compelling. Love what you're doing, Fiona.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for being on the show, for sharing what you're doing, and for being the entrepreneur that you are. To our audience, thank you for listening. Now get out there, build something beautiful. Until next time, take care.